a brief introduction of myself first. Okay, I'm Tun Yang. I'm currently a management trainee at StarryNift. Actually, I'm finishing my year 4 studies in a human resource management program, and I minor in analytics, so I know a bit of analytics as well. Okay, so I think what StarryNift is actually doing right now is basically it aims to be a Web3 metaverse that allows players to participate in a variety of ways, including playing, socializing, creating, and more, but also earning at the same time for contributing to the platform. Yeah, I think that will be a quick brief introduction. Yeah.
Okay, and in 1 minute, could you explain us what NFTs are? Because a lot of students are interested in NFTs, but they don't really understand what is it? Is it the GPAG or is it something more? As the word became a buzzword in the recent year, a lot of people still don't know what it is.
I think maybe I'll just keep it very simple. I don't want to go into too technical terms. Right, NFTs are basically they stand for non-fungible tokens, NFT. Right, it's actually a digital asset that is actually verifiable on the blockchain. Right, so examples of such works include music, videos, animations, artworks, in-game assets, unique avatars, and many more. Basically, anything that you can think of, if you can create it, you can basically digitalize it and publish it on the blockchain. Right. So why is it known as NFTs? Right. I think you have to go and think of, what does the meaning of fungible? I mean, what does fungible actually means, right? And so, for example, when something is actually fungible, right? For example, like a dollar bill, it can be exchanged for another dollar bill, right? However, NFTs, they are called non-fungible because you cannot really exchange one NFT for another one-of-a-kind NFT, right? You cannot change 1:1 because a lot of NFTs, they are unique in some ways, even for NFTs that they look the same, right? But they actually have a different identity on the same NFT. So for example, NFT can be numbered as 111, right? It could be worth more than an NFT that looks the same that is numbered maybe 250. I mean, it depends on how people view it, but they are not exactly the same, even though they may look the same, right, on the blockchain. Yeah, so when NFTs are actually transferred from one owner to another on the blockchain, the digital trail that verifies the transaction code and encodes the unique ownership rights to the new owner. Right, so now the new owner owns the NFT, right? So I think to summarize it all in layman terms, in very simple terms, right? The concept behind NFTs is very much like physical unique collectible assets, whereby you hold the ownership certificate to the asset, which could be a piece of artwork, music, videos, or collectibles, right? So yeah, that's the definition of NFTs.
So I wonder, what is the value of holding NFTs? Because when you collect, for example, golden coin, you have the gold. And when you have NFT, what do you have? Is it only a file? Is it a piece of art? What is it?
Yeah, I think NFT value is a very subjective word. I think everyone sees value and defines value very differently, right? Many people in the crypto space, they currently define value based on the size of the community, right? How many people is involved, right? And there are a lot of people who are in the space who love memes. Right, so maybe they see value in terms of how much adoption is there in this space for memes, for example, right? So I think one of the more popular and up and growing NFT community is called the Bored Ape Yacht Club, or short for BAYC, right? If you have been following the trends for BAYC, you'll be noticing that actually the prices of these NFTs has been soaring, right? I think now currently the cheapest on the market will probably be around, I think, about $200,000 to $300,000. Right, it's just a JPG file to some people, but some people sees value in being part of the community, right? And a lot of times, how much value is being generated is also depending on individuals who are part of the community, right? What kind of events or social events or networking events they actually hold, right? And also, I think a lot of times people who purchase these NFTs, they are actually people who are very rich, right? Who can afford to come out 200 to 300K just to purchase an NFT, right? So and they want to belong in this community, so they are willing to invest and they see the value in it, right? Other than that, for a project like us, like StarryNift, right, purchasing NFTs allow players to participate in games, to participate in the metaverse, participate in the tournaments, right? And of course, while having fun, maybe there are certain ways to earn some rewards, exciting rewards. Of course, this is not any investment advice, right? I mean, if you're having fun, if you like collecting, I mean, no harm, putting a bit of money to enjoy the process of collecting NFTs and to be engaged by these features. Right? There are also some people who buy NFTs just for fun, right? Because they can afford it, or they just want to participate on the platform, like I just mentioned, right? And not everyone who purchase NFT, they purchase it for the value, right? Even in recent times, you can see a lot of influencers and musicians like, you know, Snoop Dogg, and then you have popular singer like Jay Chou and JJ Lin himself even getting into NFTs, right? So at the end of the day, I think it really depends on how you want to define value for yourself, yeah, for NFTs.
So is it safe? Because Bored Ape Yacht Club is currently trading at around $300,000, something like this, and the floor price. So is it safe once someone just hack it? What is the risk of a hacked project?
Okay, I think for safety, right? I mean, there's always risk when you put your NFTs onto platforms like OpenSea to be sold, right? Because the moment you sign your NFTs and you place it on the platform, you kind of lose control over your NFTs for a period of time, whereby, you know, if OpenSea is open to their contracts are open to vulnerabilities or open to exploits, chances are there's a small chance that, you know, your NFTs might just get stolen or be hacked, right? So there's no way to guarantee that your NFTs are safe when you place your NFTs onto third-party marketplaces to be sold, right? So you've got to be very careful, and, you know, you want to make sure that the marketplaces that you actually put your NFTs on sale for, they actually go through proper audit, right? But even if there is audit, there is still no guarantees that your NFTs are actually safe, right? Because these days the hackers are very smart. I mean, we do see it's quite common for a lot of projects, right? Even those big ones, they have been hacked for millions and millions of dollars, right? So you've got to always do your research and always be very careful, okay? But that's, of course, if you are intending to sell your NFTs, right? But say if you are just collecting it, I would suggest that you the least you could do is always store them in a soft wallet, right? Don't put them on marketplaces, don't put them on centralized exchange where they are always vulnerable to exploits, right? You can always put your NFTs. I think one of the most popular wallets that most people use is actually MetaMask, right? Of course, you also have Math Wallet and Trust Wallet, which are all more commonly used ones, right? So long as you store your NFTs in a soft wallet and you don't share your seed phrase with anyone, I think it's relatively safe. Right, and you also have to be careful because there are many scammers going around these days claiming that they offer free stuff, and you just have to connect to their website, right? But the moment you connect to the website and you try to key in your seed phrase and you give them your seed phrase, that's when they actually, you know, have access to your wallets, and then they start to not only steal your NFTs, but they also steal whatever tokens or whatever funds that you have in the wallet. So you got to be very careful about that, right? And of course, the most or I would say the safest way to actually store your NFTs or even store your tokens is actually to use a hardware wallet, right? So a hardware wallet is actually an offline wallet, right? Whereby you use a small physical devices, which looks like thumb drive. Some of them can look as something like a thumb drive, as small as a thumb drive, and some they are actually bigger, right? So these wallets actually are used to isolate your digital assets, right? Like NFTs and cryptocurrencies. And every transaction that you are connected to, let's say your laptop or your PC, right? When you use it, you have to manually sign before you actually transfer assets to the wallet, or you want to withdraw assets from the wallet, right? So it's relatively safe, so long as you make sure that you have a backup, right? And you store your private keys in a safe place that people don't have access to. Offline, of course, right? Because online these days, people can easily hack. Yeah.
So I wonder, what is the NFT liquidity? I think it's also another issue.
Okay, so for NFT liquidity, I would say most NFTs have very low liquidity, right? Especially for collectibles like CryptoPunks or BAYC, right? Because these NFTs are extremely pricey. It's not every day that you can afford to see people spending 200, 300K on an NFT or on a JPG, right? Some people will say
like Picasso paintings.
Yeah, right. It's like real estate, right? If you are a real estate agent, you cannot possibly sell real estate every single day because you don't see. It's hard to find someone every single day that can afford the price tag of it, right? So NFTs that are very expensive, they are very costly, they have very low liquidity, right? So it's not easy to find a buyer, right? So but there are, of course, in times of emergency where you need the money from the sales of an NFT, you have to sell it at a discount. So this creates an issue with the liquidity of these NFTs, right? But these days, I would say there is actually a breakthrough in the recent, in fact, I think the recent 1 or 2 years, right, for NFTs. There's this term known as fractionalization, which allows the owners of the NFT to break down their NFTs into as many parts as they wish to, right? And each part can be sold to individuals who have an interest in owning a portion of the NFT. It's very much like purchasing shares of a company, right? You own the shares of, or you own a fraction of the NFT, right? And you pay a smaller sum of money, of course, depending on how much of the fraction you own actually. So platforms like OTs, fractional.art and unic.ly actually offer such features for you to fractionize your NFTs to make it more affordable for the masses to invest in, right? And of course, you know, they can invest at a very affordable price, right?
So how can NFTs hold long-term value? How can NFTs hold long-term value? Because you mentioned that it's very illiquid, that the project is mainly collectible. How does it work long-term? Because when I invest in stocks, I know that the company constantly produces some products and it's gonna gain revenue, which I will most likely will have my own share in. So how does it work in NFT? Why would I invest in NFT? What is the benefit long term?
Okay, I think maybe I'll just give a straight example, right? There's this platform called Vivi. I don't know if you have heard before, but I'm sure that if you are a famous Marvel collector or fan of comic books, right? Chances are, if you have been in NFT space, definitely you have heard of this platform called Vivi. Okay, so the platform actually sells NFT comic books collectibles, right? And the Spider-Man series is one of the most popular collection right now, right? And a few rare series has been sold for tens of thousands of dollars, up from the initial purchase price of less than $50, right? Because they have a certain comic book collection have a very rare cover page, right? That maybe only 1% of the comic book drops have that kind of rare cover pages. Right, so that's why they are worth so much. And in fact, they have been constantly growing. I think even if you bought 6 months ago, it would have been worth maybe less than $10,000, but now they are all at least 20, 30, 40K. Right, so the prices are actually exponentially rising. Right, so the reason why these NFTs can hold long-term value is because there is a huge demand in the space. Right, there's a lot of Spider-Man fans. Right, they are willing to invest and pay more. Right, but the reason why the prices has been rising constantly is because more and more people are recognizing the adoption in the NFT space, right? Maybe 6 months ago or even 1 year ago when you heard about it, maybe it's only $100 because not much people knew about this NFT, right? Not much people know that I could actually collect NFTs on these platforms. But now when more and more people are knowing about it, there is an increase in demand, right? So that's why your NFTs, the prices are actually inflating. These are the ones that are actually valuable. But not all NFTs are actually valuable, right? There are certain NFTs that, they are generated based on hype, right? Maybe certain influencers, especially these days, we see a lot of influencers posting about NFTs. So if you go and join the hype and they post about the NFT, and then after that, a lot of influencers, some of them, they even abandon the project. So when they abandon the project, these NFTs lose their value, right? So you've got to be very careful when you choose to invest in NFTs that you seek to have long-term value in, because not only you have to do your research and to understand, what's the long-term, long-term value that the project can give you or give your NFT, right? I think more importantly, you have to be able to spot the upcoming trends and the changing trends, right? What's the next biggest trend that you think in the NFT space, it will explode, right? And then you put your money into some of these NFTs when they're actually still cheap, right? So I think that's the case for NFT holding long-term values. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful. Thank you for the whole Q&A session.
Thank you for hosting. Yeah.